All right, good evening, all. Thank you so much for joining in on the second Winlink Basics night. I'm calling this, in my head, last month was Winlink Basics 101, and tonight is Winlink Basics 201. I see a lot of experienced Winlink users in the crowd tonight, so if you all have anything to add, please jump in, chime in. Hopefully we'll show you a few tricks that will be helpful for you. If you have questions, go ahead and jump in and ask them. I may or may not, just like last month, I may or may not, based on time, or if it's something that I'm going to be getting to later, I will try to fit it in, or we may postpone it towards the end, but we will get back to you. I will keep track of it a little bit. I am terrible at following the chat. I will try to keep an eye on it, but if you got something in the chat, I may or may not get it right away. And lastly, just kind of a little bit of the format tonight. We're going to be going over last month. Well, we're going to do a short review, do some new stuff. One thing that we're really not going to focus on tonight is how you connect your radio to your computer and get Winlink and Vara or Packet hooked up, just because there's so many variables in that. There's so many different radios and setups. That being said, at the end, I will stick around as long as anybody wants for questions, answers, things like that. And maybe what we can do is kind of connect some people. So if you've got a Yaesu radio, and you need help with this, maybe somebody else in the crowd has one as well. So maybe we can put some Elmers together with you and things like that. So we will have a little bit of time for that. All right. Enough. Well, I'm going to be blabbing all night. I apologize already. My name's RJ Bragg, Whiskey Yankee 7 Alpha Alpha. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Wyoming Section Emergency Coordinator and the Emergency Coordinator for Laramie County. So this is going to be a continuation, like I said, from last week. I kind of stole this idea from Georgia Aries. They've got a ton of good training and some stuff. They've got a whole training method or training setup. It's basically called Digital Messaging Proficiency, and they're using Winlink, N-beams, and D-Star, D-Rats, I think they're calling it in Georgia. And they've got a basic, an independent, and an advanced. Basically, last month was the basic level. It is how to use the app, how to use Winlink Express. Somebody who does not know how to put together the radio and get it all connected, things like that. But if somebody else has a radio set up, it's already set up for Winlink, we could sit you down in front of it and you could operate proficiently at that. You can use forms, things like that. Telnet, even some RF stuff, but you're not familiar with the ins and outs of the whole setup. So that's kind of, in my mind, the basic. Tonight is independent. I like that name because it's really what it is. Tonight, hopefully you're going to get a little bit better idea how to set up your own system and make things work out in the field. To me, I can try stuff here at my bench. It's when I go out in the field is when I really learn a lot of stuff. And advanced can kind of go anywhere. You could be a sysop, you could be an Elmer, somebody that's set up their own post office, their own RMS, things like that. So that would be kind of the next layer. And if we want to continue this, if people want to do this again in March, I'm kind of at my edge of comfort level, but I know some people that might be able to help out if we want to do another one in March, but we can discuss that later. So that's kind of how I think of it. I'm trying to get in Laramie County, we're trying to get as many people at the basic level. So, if they don't have their own radio, and that's fine, we can set them down in front of a radio and let them go to town. Independent is a good place to be as well. Just a review from last week. Remember, Winlink, it's just email via RF is basically what I'm going to say. I'm not going to read it all, but it's just in case somebody wasn't here for the first one. You can transmit it on any of the amateur bands. Limitations, remember, we're amateurs. Basically all the rules apply. Part 97 rules. No encryption, commercial traffic, third-party rules. The majority of the support, again, is Windows. There are Mac, there are Linux, there's iOS and Android applications as well. We're not going to be covering those tonight, but maybe next month we can find some people that know some of that stuff if any of you are interested in coming back for more. And then for me, this is the big picture. This is what kind of made everything work for me. Everybody knows that you need a computer and you need a radio. But in between, you've got the email client, which in this case tonight, we're going to be using Winlink Express, which is basically what you type your message into. The modem, which is going to be the program, the app, that changes those letters into beeps and boops and sounds. And then the interface, what connects the radio to the computer, both electrically and mechanically, and gets it all hooked up and makes everything work. So those are the 5 main parts that you need. All right, tonight we're going to go a little bit further. Last month we really stayed on the common message server, which is basically the internet. The radio message server is the gateway. Think of it as a repeater. Troy, last month it was Mike from Laramie. Tonight you're my top left square in the Hollywood square, so you're probably going to get picked on. I apologize ahead of time. Troy wants to use Winlink. He's going to set up his radio, and he's going to try to hit essentially a repeater, the RMS, radio message server. That is connected to the CMS. We're going to have an illustration of that in a little bit. Post office is a fairly new thing. It's basically it's like an RMS. It's basically like a repeater, but it's not connected to the internet. And peer-to-peer is just that. Troy and I, my radio is talking directly to Troy's radio. There's no repeater in between. And then radio only, I'm not going to delve real deep into that because, again, I'm not real familiar with it. It is basically a methodology for the RMS gateways to get connected together automatically. If the internet globally went down, the RMS could pass traffic that way. So I stole this from the Winlink site directly. This is basically a good representation. So here's the CMS. This is Amazon. That's the big servers. Here's the internet. And if you're doing Telnet, you're just connecting right into the internet and going to the CMS directly. If you are going through an RMS, essentially think of it as a repeater. Here's your station. You could be using any of the different modems. You could be on HF or UHF or VHF and go into the RMS, and then the RMS basically takes it and shoves it right up to the CMS right away. Generically, I'm not going to say this is a fact all the time, the RMS does not store any messages. The RMS, as soon as you send your email to this RMS, it's shoving it up to the internet, the CMS. That's where it sits and waits for the recipient to go in and collect it. So the RMS is not hanging on to anything. It's just taking it from you and shoving it up into the internet. So when I put it up to this CMS, it goes to the internet. Then Dan checks into this RMS over here with his station, and the RMS says, wait a minute, WI7DG, yep, there's one sitting here. It pulls it down and shoves it out to his radio. It's that simple. So conventional mode, that's basically that's how 90% of Winlink works. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? I like this illustration that they had. This is the radio only network, no internet. So it basically got rid of the internet up here. These are the RMSs, and all it does is it connects the RMSs via RF. So there's no internet. So if I'm here and I send a message to, well, let's go the other way around. My Elmer in Western New York, and Charles, I'm sorry, somebody might be able to help you in chat. If you've only got a small, there's going to be a view, a way for you to increase your view. I'm not sure what that is, though. I'm sorry.
You might try pulling the break between the his screen and the images of all of us. Make one bigger and one smaller. Just drag it sideways. See if that makes it
Okay.
bigger.
Thank you, Mike. Give that a shot. So, my Elmer in Western New York wants to send me a message through the radio only. He's going to throw a message into his local RMS or wherever he sends it to, and then there's, I believe it's called message. I forget the MPS. It's basically he's going to send me a message. It's going to be radio only, and then he's going to set what station I'm going to pick it up at. So W0ARP is down in Colorado. That's the easiest station for me to get. So if he sends that message in, it's going to say, you need to go to W0ARP and wait for WY7AA to check in. So he's going to throw it in here, and it's going to bounce through as many RMS stations as it needs to until it gets to W0ARP. And then that message is going to sit on that local RMS until I check in. That's the one time when the RMS would be holding a message. It's not common. I've read a lot about this. I've heard a fair amount about it. I hear that it's glitchy. It's a great concept, but I don't. We're not going to go deep into that. Just so you're aware that it's out there, and it's a possibility. Peer-to-peer is just that. Here's a radio and a computer. Here's a station. Here's a station. You're talking back and forth. So pretty straightforward. Again, this one needs coordination. You need to be on the same band, the same frequency, the same modem at the same time. So when we've done practice with that, we usually are doing it via VHF, and we'll have a VHF voice net going on at the same time, so we can say, hey, are you ready? Back and forth like that. And next, you're going to see my high-level graphic artist skills. This is what a post office is. Mike, you weren't supposed to laugh that much. Basically, the post office is basically just like the Winlink or the radio only, except for it's just a single machine. And this is really powerful. We've really just started to scratch the surface on this. In Laramie County, we put one in October, I think. And we'll get into it why there's some real powerful stuff to that. But it's just a local RMS. It's the same program. It's just a click of the switch. If you had a VHF, well, actually an HF, UHF, VHF, it doesn't matter, any of them. If you had a gateway, you can essentially take it offline, so it's not connected to the internet, and now it's just its own standalone machine. So only the people within RF range can get messages from there. So we will dig more into that later. Questions? Is this understandable? It's fairly, I think most of it's review, but I found pictures, and I like pictures. So, all right, I'm just going to give a little bit of just some strategies, and we'll talk a little bit more about the post office now. This is kind of how, this is our standard model for Laramie County. So our EOC is at our Emergency Management Agency. So we really use a hub and spoke model. Everybody's dumping information into the center, and then the center has it's a base station, so it's not a kit, out of a Pelican case with an antenna thrown out the window, things like that. So really anything that needs to any information travels to EMA, and then from there with that base station we've got much bigger antenna, much more powerful radios. We have HF capability, so we don't have to try to set up an HF station. If for some reason there was a message that needed to go from the unified command post and they needed to send information to Region 8 down in Denver, FEMA, they send it to EMA, and we could, possibly, if it truly were Denver, we might be able to hit them VHF. But if we needed to do HF, we can send out HF that way. So everything's kind of flowing to that middle. What we've done, like I said, back in October, we added a VHF post office. The Cheyenne Public Safety Campus is our 911 center. We have a UHF VHF radio there. So what we did, because it's not commonly used, we set up essentially an RMS there that is not connected to the internet. And it's a nice central location. The antenna is 4 stories up, something like that, right in the middle of the city. So we've got good coverage with it. And it's just a post office. We originally, in a lot of our last several exercises, we used peer-to-peer, VHF peer-to-peer, which works. There's less infrastructure needed, so that's a good thing. The downside is there's 2 downsides. One, you can't send messages to multiple email addresses at once, peer-to-peer, that I have been able to find. We tried it multiple different ways without any success. So if I wanted to send something to Troy, Dan, and Mike, I got to send it to Troy, then I got to send it to Dan, then I got to send it to Mike. With the post office, and the nice thing, and the reason why this really works out well is typically we're going to be here. We're going to be out at EMA, which is out east of town, but we have radio contact with 911. So that's kind of a dumb terminal. Nobody has to sit there and staff it. It just operates. So what I'm going to do, if I'm at EMA and we'll say, here's Troy, here's Dan, and here's Mike, all I do is I send an email to the post office addressed to all of them, and either they just pick it up when they have time, or I jump on the 2 meter and say, hey, the 3 of you, just so you know, there's a message sitting out there waiting for you. And then as they have time, they don't have to be sitting there, at the exact same time trying to coordinate the message going through.
RJ?
Yes.
So if you've got a number of people trying to access the post office, say if there's an event going on, I know you can, listen for traffic and then jump in. Would it make sense, or do you do something like, say, this person, the hospital has this time slot, the shelter has this time slot, etc.? Or is that an issue?
So we have attempted to, we've tried to break it. We've tried to overload it, and so far it's kind of like a repeater. Whoever's the loudest and first gets in, and whoever doesn't get in just gets timed out. So basically, if Troy beats you in, you're going to hear yours going for a minute, and then it's going to time out, and then you just got to wait. When you get in, when you see an opening again, try again, and hopefully it'll go through for you.
Okay, so in other words, doesn't sound like it's a big issue then.
It does so far. We have not used it in a real. Excuse me. We have not used it in a real formal training setting yet. When we first put it on the air, we just unleashed the hounds. We had so many people throwing stuff at it. It was going all the time.
Yeah. No, that would be a good way to test it. Yeah.
Yeah. But boy, when you hit, if somebody sends something to all, boy, when you went to download, the amount of messages you get for that first month, it was a little chaotic. But so far it seems like, especially, so our post office it's all 2 meter. It's the same frequency. It's 145.020, and it is Vara FM and Packet. So you can use either modem. And I think Vara FM is a little bit more robust, but both of them work. So far, we haven't had any trouble with that. So, yeah, that's a good question. And trust me, we're going to put that to task in our next exercise. Yeah, so just wanted to give a little bit of an idea of, and again, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. This is what we're starting with. Obviously you got to have flexibility, but having that post office off-site. If we needed to go to the 911 center and we needed to have if we needed to use that radio for voice, our post office is offline. So what we're attempting to do, or our goal, is eventually our van and the EOC are also going to have the same software loaded up. So, and somebody could have it at their home. Honestly, it's really not. It's not in my skill set to set it up. But once you do set it up, somebody can turn it on and off fairly easily. From the way it was described to me. So, all right. So that's just, if you're doing airy stuff, that's one way that you could use it. All right. I'm going to share screen again here in a minute. Questions so far? Okay, I'm going to share my screen again, hopefully. So let's make some noise. All right. This is kind of crazy because I can see my own screen at the same time that I have my screen up. So, you all have seen this already, hopefully. And of course, Zoom puts their bar right on top of what I'm trying to use. Okay, there we go. Okay, Winlink Express. When you open up Winlink Express, you're going to get updated if there's a new version that comes out. So it's kind of hard to be behind. You're going to be prompted every time there's a new version that comes out. I have run into that recently. So both, anytime you can do updates, it's good to do. Don't let yourself get behind. There's W0ARP that I mentioned before. They're behind on their Vara updates, and there's I've had a few issues with them lately. So we went over using doing messages. We'll show some of that tonight, but we're mainly going to start going into the different Vara. We're going to mainly start with Vara. I'm just going to create a message just so I've got something to send. I can only imagine how many messages in the Winlink system say test and test. So let's get started with Vara HF. I think this is going to be the most common one. So you've created a message. You go over here. Here's your drop down of all the different. We're going to stay in this top here. These are how you're going to get out to an RMS station. So we're going to start out with Vara HF. And then I learned this last month. Thank you, Mike. You can open session with this button or this button here. Okay, bunch of stuff happened. I have my radio turned on, so everybody's happy. I'm going to show you a few things. So we're going to do a little more setup stuff first. So if you go to settings, there's the Vara TNC setup. These are all defaults for me. Wherever you put the Vara modem, you got to make sure that it's pointed that way. But I'm pretty sure when I set this up, it automatically knew where that was. Make sure that you click on automatically launch Vara TNC, which I'm pretty sure is the default. The one that I think I changed was show the Vara TNC screen when it's launched. So if you noticed, Vara popped up right away. I think I had to check on that, and then you just hit update and go from there. So that's pretty straightforward. And I just like having the screen up. It's helpful. So that was under settings, Vara TNC setup, and then radio setup. Now's where it's really going to be radio specific. If you happen to have an ICOM 7610, this is how I have mine set up. It's going to be fairly straightforward if you've got a modern radio with a USB cord and a digital mode. But you basically need to, select the model. There's going to be the address, what kind of mode you're using. If you're using, you're going to need you don't have to have rig control. Right now on this radio, when I click on a station, it automatically changes the VFO for me, bakes me some toast, it does everything. You don't have to have that. You can manually tune to your own, to whatever station. However, you do have to have the push to talk to be able to. It says optional, and I don't know how it does it. In one way, shape, or form, the program is going to have to fire up the push to talk for you. So pretty straightforward. Again, we'll get into this a little bit later if people want some help. But those are the two real things that you're going to need to set up in the Vara Winlink session. Then you can go over to Vara HF and there's settings. So there's Vara setup. I don't change anything up here. If you do have a Vara license, which we'll touch on more later, you enter it here. And then down here, there's a couple things that are important. Allow Vara to check internet updates. Allow Vara check for updates via internet. That I believe is already checked. Accept 500 hertz connections. That's I think that's a good one to have because it allows you to do 500 hertz or 2300 or 2750. It just gives you more to do. I have no idea what tuner enhancement does. And CWID at the end, it gives your call sign as in CW as ID. And really the main one that I changed right away, I believe this started out at 10 tries. This is how many times that if you're going to call an RMS station, how many times it's going to try before it says, okay, it ain't happening, we'll move on. First thing I did was just change that from 10 down to 5. If you don't get it in 5, you're probably not getting it. You're just spending a lot of time and wasting RF. I would not put it at 1 unless you got a rock star RMS. It's quite often it takes 2 or 3 tries at least to get in. But if you don't get it by 5, you're probably not getting it. So settings, Vara setup, retries. That's a good one to do. It's a convenience thing. It's not a must do. Sound card. Your computer needs to be able to. This is like if you're using WSJTX or any other sound card mode. You got to be able to set up to the USB audio codec or whatever your interface is. And then they show a nice, pretty little picture for ICOMs that you want your ALC drive level to be about 1/3 ALC, and you measure it with this, or measure it. You adjust it with this slider. So. I don't find that is a critical setting, but it is you should do it. And that's really about it in Vara HF. I don't really use any of these other. There are valuable things in here. I just don't touch them, honestly. Quick questions on that. I know it was a quick overview, but just so you know, those are the areas that you're headed for. Okay. So now I got a message. I want to send it out. First thing you're going to want to do, sometimes you're going to get prompted if you want to update the, I forget the exact wording, but update via internet. So you can update we're going to look at this first. So this will give you a call sign of all the RMSs that are out there. This is the frequency they're on. The mode is the bandwidth. 500, 2750, 2300. Their location, labeled by grid square. What hours of the day they're open. Most are 24. If they're public, their distance from you, their bearing, and then your path reliability estimate and path quality estimate. I don't know what the difference is, but I do know that green is good, yellow is not as good, and red is worse. So, high level RJ discussion topic here. I tend to go for green. So they rank them for you. And if you notice right now, I just updated this before we got started. There's a couple of 80-meter stations, a couple of 40-meter stations, another 80. So this is ranking them. So if I were going to log into someplace right now, probably I would pick on this one because it's a faster. It's 2750 hertz. So I double clicked on that, and it auto populated the frequency for me and everything. If you have cat control, that's important. You need to have that in there so it's setting your radio on to the proper frequency. If you don't have cat control, it doesn't really matter if these numbers are correct or not. You have to have the call sign. It's actually calling Kilo Bravo 2 Papa Charlie November -8. So that has to be in there. That is critical. But the frequency is really not critical. You could reach over and tune your radio to whatever it's supposed to be. So again, it's showing you the frequency it's going to, its location, and voila. So I double clicked on that. I'm just going to do an example. We'll see if my microphone picks it up or not. If I hit start, one try, two tries, three tries, four tries, five tries, and CWID. So we didn't get them. Of course, they worked perfect just beforehand. Kilo Delta Zero Sierra Fox Yankee is the one I've been having trouble with. So we're going to try this one here. Delta November 94. This one's up in North Dakota, I believe. And I think you could probably hear that. So there's somebody not on the frequency I'm on, but adjacent. So we're going to give it a shot. There we go. Is that coming through at all?
Yeah. Yeah, we can.
Okay, you can see the bar graph going in the background here. All right, I'm going to talk over that now because that's annoying. And for those of you who already know how to do this, watching Vara work is probably really exciting for you all. So you can see what's happening here. You got a waterfall. It's going back and forth. It's sending data right now. It's receiving data right now. Or no, that's sending. The other was receiving. There's acknowledge. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And after a while, you can kind of see what's going on. This popped up. This is the free trial version. So we do not have a license for Vara for the club. And so all you do is hit continue to evaluate. Works fine. So you don't have to do anything. And then the other thing is you can watch this. This is, there's some information in here that's useful. So WI7HR has 119 daily minutes remaining with this. Some are hundreds of minutes, some are 45 minutes. Just depends on what the system operator wants to do. Oh yeah, that's right, I did have one to send. So you can see it's actually transferring out. And right now I'm sending it like 18 bytes per second, so real rock star. But it's going through, and that's what it does. It'll come through, and in a moment, as soon as it gets done, that green bar will go away, and it'll say that it's complete, and then it'll automatically disconnect for us. I'll give you some test results that I did later on in the presentation, but there's so many. It's all RF based. If the conditions are poopy, your speed is going to be poopy. If the conditions are good, man, I've had some things that just rock star through.
God, we
that
haven't had
really
good
just,
conditions in so long.
yeah. And it kind of is micro conditions because, when the bands sound terrible, your normal HF operating, I'll have some. And look, it's popping up right now. Went from 15, now it's all the way up to 60. I mean,
Hmm.
it's crazy how up and down things can be. Um, there we go. We sent one message, 178 bytes, huge. Took a minute 48, 98 bytes per minute. Messages sent, blah blah blah, disconnecting. So it gives you a bunch of information there. Honestly, you're not going to use a ton of that information on a regular basis. It's interesting to see. So, that's really it. You basically open up a Vara session, pick the channel you want, and if you have the ability to, so when you open this up, any of you who haven't had this open in a while, if you open this up, you're automatically going to get prompted to update the solar flux index, and it takes a little bit of time. I'm going to do it once here via internet, and you can see what's happening. If you have the internet available, and you can see the banner here, right here, you'll see the stuff going on. If you have the internet available, do this. It's a good thing to do. If you don't have the internet available, I was told by many people, never try to update this via HF. You'll spend so much time. I did it the other day for the first time, and it was one of those days where the conditions were booming. It was a 18 kilohertz file, so big by Winlink standards, and I downloaded it in 4 minutes. So I got lucky. So that now it's done. So it just updated, and really not much changed, but it was only 45 minutes ago that I did it last. But that's basically what's happening. I've only done the internet update by radio one time. It sends out a request. You wait a couple minutes, you check again, and it downloads a file, which then updates this. I can't give you a lot of detail about it because I really haven't done it much. Questions so far? So I went down this rabbit hole in the last month trying to figure out how you update this manually. There's got to be a way to update this manually. I didn't find it. I'm not saying it's not out there. You can update via radio, which that one time I did it really wasn't too painful. This is where I use the FT8 method. If I'm out in the field and I have no way to update via internet, I run FT8 for 10 minutes. I make a dozen contacts. If I'm in the field, I probably have a single band antenna, or I may have a multi-band antenna, but I'm trying to use one thing. If I'm up at Sand Creek and there's a huge cliff behind where I camp, and I'm on 20 meters, I'm probably not bouncing up and over that cliff, so I'm probably shooting the other way. And by running FT8 for 10 minutes, it's a great tool. It just tells me, and they give you grid squares. Hey, guess what we got here? Grid squares. So what happens is if I'm, in the field, I can't update this automatically, and I'm hitting Echo Mike 86, Echo Mike 93, Echo Mike 75. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to rip down through here, and I've got a 20 meter antenna on. So what I'm going to do is rip down here, and if I was smart, I'd go to the down here, and if you notice, you can click on these just like a spreadsheet. They'll automatically sort for you. So Echo Mike 74, I'm looking for, hey, there's a 20 meter station. I basically ignore this because this hasn't been updated. This is no longer a valid value for me. So because of my FT8, I realized that this area, this is the frequency this is the band I'm on, it might be worth a shot. So that's how I use this when I'm out in the field and I don't have the ability to update the numbers. If somebody learns how to do that or wants to show us at the end, great. But honestly, the FT8 way is fast. You just make a few contacts and go from there. So that's a little trick that I found. The one other thing is this map. This map will pop up and show you the stations that are in red, yellow, that column, those two columns on the right. And then this is the station we actually just contacted a moment ago. It's kind of neat looking. I don't know how much it tells you. For me, grid squares are easy because I come from the satellite world, so I'm used to where grid squares are. If you tell me, Fox November 12, I know right where that is. If you're not used to grid squares, you might have to, you might want to pull the map out and start looking once in a while. But so that's kind of the ins and outs of Vara HF. I have to turn a different radio on now.
And if you're not familiar with the Grid Square convention, there's an app that I believe runs on Android as well as iOS called Maidenhead. Worth getting that and taking a look at it to figure out where things are.
I'll start filling up somebody else's inbox. Here you go, Troy. Post out box. So now we're going to do Vara FM. You're going to notice things look very similar. Similar to a fault almost, because there's quite a few differences here, but you don't notice it right away. So a couple things. We're going to go into settings in the Winlink session. If you notice, there's only one selection, and it's very similar to the last one. The radio configuration is really not done in the in this Winlink window. So again, these are pretty much all defaults. I believe I did I did click on the Show Vara FM TNC screen when launched, and then hit Update. So that's really all there is to do in this window. All of your radio settings are over here now. So Vara setup is going to be very similar. You're going to have your registration key, number of retries. On FM, I go down to 3. Because again, if your FM's, it's either going to work or not a lot. It's a lot more yes or no than on HF. So that's really the only thing. Oh, and allow Vara to check for updates. That's important. If you do open up, and I have the latest, if you do open up and there's an update, it's going to tell you right here. So go back to settings, sound card, very similar, be able to pick your codec. Tune, same thing. This will be able to set your drive level. That's how you can adjust your drive level. We'll come back to auto tune in a moment. And then push to talk. This is really where your radio setup is. Again, for 9700, I just did this the other day. It seems to be working. I don't have cat control for some reason, or it doesn't change the VFO for me I don't care. It works. I'm not going to mess with it. This is my satellite radio. I don't normally have it in the shack anyways. So this is really where you're going to set up your radio. Okay. So functionally, it's going to be very similar. Channel selection. However, now you're going to have a channel selection based on a table. It's not going to be based on propagation. It's going to be based on location. I am going to see if I'm going to close out of that. If you go back here, I don't know if it'll let me. Nope, not while the session's running. I'll pop out of the session real quick. Way back when you set up your account, you set up your grid square. Now, this is not the grid square where I'm physically located right now. It's the one for Cheyenne, but it's close enough. So that's what they're working off of. So if I travel to East Tennessee to my parents' house, I enter in Echo Mike 86, Delta November. I don't know what the last two are. And then that will give me the stations that are local to that location. So you can update via table or update via internet. This doesn't change regularly. If you've updated this in the last 3 months, unless somebody added or removed an RMS gateway for Vara FM, it's probably not going to change. So The one that works the best for me is this WI7 or W0ARP-10. It's 190 kilometers away, but it's line of sight for me. However, I've had some issues with that one lately. So in Cheyenne is KE5VAI, and sorry, I just double clicked on that real quick, but he's right in Cheyenne. So you just double click on the one that you want. Again, this is critical. You got to make sure that the station, the RMS that you're calling, not the station. It's not who you addressed your email to. It's the RMS. That needs to be right here. I have to make sure that my radio is set to that frequency because it doesn't automatically do it for me, and I will turn the volume up. And so basically the same size message as the last one. We're doing it again. This time it's going to Troy, though. Send it. First try. Watch what's going on here.
Boom.
580 bytes per second, something like that. Zip. Thank you very much. Good night. Time 9 seconds. Bytes per minute 1151. I believe the last one was like 90 or something like that. So propagation. We're not bouncing it off the ionosphere 8 kajillion miles above us. I'm just pointing right at Mike's thing and shooting FM at him. Because there's a small ridge between me and him, I'm at 30 watts. When I shoot south to that station south of Denver, I can do it at 1 watt. It's incredible how good it is. So I just wanted to show you the power of doing Vara FM. Again, if you don't have a gateway in your area, this is not going to be of much use to you. But if you do have a gateway if you don't have a gateway in your area, you might want to put a gateway in your area. But it's a lot less. It's FM. It's FM versus HF. HF has got its uses. It's very powerful. You can send long distances. This, just rock and roll. It goes through very quickly. Otherwise, like I said, it operates very similar to Vara HF. Once you get the setup done for your radio, if you own multiple computers and multiple radios, you're going to be jockeying back and forth with stuff. If you've got a single radio and a single computer, get it set up once and life is good. Questions about that one? Got quicker that time. I got one more demo for you, and then I'm going to give you some more stuff. All right. Last one is we're going to do Vara. So you can see there's Telnet, which is using the internet, Packet, Packdoor, which is a sound modem. I don't know anything about robust Packet. I've never seen anybody use it. AirDop. There are some people. It's an older program. Some people use it still. Vara HF, Vara FM all the time. Iridium Go. I don't know anything about that. So Packet is a good one. It is a typically it's a VHF UHF once again. So we're going to open session, and now you notice it's a different setup here. What we're doing is we're using this program called Sound Modem by Uniform Zulu 7 Hotel Oscar to create. It's the old AX25 packet. If you've been around for longer than I've been around, you probably are familiar with this. And this basically is creating the packets that are getting sent out. So in the Winlink side, it's very similar. It's going to have channel selections. You can see right now I'm set up for W0ARP-10. KE5VAI is my closest. If I double click on that, it automatically changes. If you notice here, it tells you what frequency to go to. I know that I have a hard. Well, I'll try Mike. I got to crank up. I got to burn some electrons for this. I got to go to 50 watts to be able to get to Mike. You are going to hear some different noise. There's no registration for this one, so you're not going to get that pop-up. But watch the... Hey, somebody else is getting in there now. Watch the W7HAD's trying to get there. Mitch, I'm going to blow you out.
Go for it. I haven't been having much luck. I don't think I've got my 5 watts is making it.
Okay, well, we'll see if my 50 watts will make it. All right, I'm going to hit start. You're going to hear some different noises. And you can see what's, it's cryptic, but there's some stuff that you can kind of recognize. You at least know that it's you. You can see your call sign in there. And I had no message, so it was quick and over with real quickly. But that's Packet. You have to set up, if you've got a Kenwood radio that has, there's Scott trying to get in now. Looks like Scott's getting in. So you can sit here and watch what's going on with the, if I turn the radio back up, you'll hear them. Or maybe you won't.
And I can hear each of you on the gateway right now.
Yep, there you go. So I can't give you definitive proof, but I've talked to several people who I trust, and they said that if you have a choice, Vara FM is a more robust, there's more features to it, it's a better program to use. So Packet or Vara FM will both do FM. They'll both do it just fine. There are some limitations. I believe Doug uses WODE, which I believe is only Packet. So, if that's how you need to get in, use it, whatever you got to do. That's why we are set up, like our post office is set up as Packet or Vara FM. But as a standard, Laramie County Aries, we're trying to stay to Vara FM. But we have Packet available. Don't limit your tools. So if you're going to do FM stuff, it's good to have Vara available if possible.
One of the things that I've noticed is they haven't updated the sound modem software in years and years. Vara's being updated somewhat regularly.
Right. Yep, that is true. Questions to this point? Sorry, I know this isn't earth-shattering, and I know we're getting on an hour. I won't be too much longer, and then we'll get into questions, but I want to do a couple more demonstrations real quick.
I've got a quick question. Can you
Go ahead, Dan.
Can you do Packet and sending it to a Vara machine?
No. So that's think of that as the modem. Well, you heard the difference in the sounds. It's like putting a slotted screwdriver into a Phillips screwdriver head. Well,
Yeah, but if you're doing it to Winlink,
so
how does that
if
then?
I'm going to bring back up so if you've got Packet and you send it to a Packet RMS, and then that message goes up to the CMS.
Oh, okay.
And if I have Vara FM, so as soon as it hits the internet, your message gets divorced from the receiver. You could send it up on 80 meter you could send it up on 70 centimeter packet, and I could download it on 80 meter packdoor. But you cannot take, if this is a Vara FM RMS and you have Packet, if you try to send that, it's just going to roadblock. It's never going to go through.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And they both, when you're looking at them, it'll tell you which ones are being covered on what frequencies.
Yep.
On the radio there.
And you will notice that a lot of them have Packet and Vara FM. So KE5VAI-10. This is Packet. So Packet Channel Selector. W0ARP. We'll just pick 2 so it's easy. Now if we go over here and open up Vara FM, we're going to Channel Selector. Look, KE5VAI and W0ARP. So a lot of them, if they've got Packet running, they typically have Vara running as well. Not always, but typically.
Okay, thank you.
Let me show you that. That gives me a good reminder to go into one of the tools that I put out. I will actually, I'm going to go into the chat once more real quick if I can. Sorry. This is the same list for anybody who was here earlier. I'm going to copy and paste a quick list of URLs and post them in the chat, and these are just some handy things to have. It helps if you use the right computer. I'm typing on one keyboard there. So those are just some handy things that I've found that you can look at. Okay, Dan, you brought up a great one. We are going to come up here and go to actually we're going to go through all these. I'm just going to go through that list real quick. First 3 are just training things. If you're interested in the Wyoming Winlink net, this is the website. Tells you all how to get in there, everything. I'm not going to go through it right now, but it's the first. These are in the same order as that list I just posted. The second one is Winlink Wednesday. This is like the biggest. If you're looking for a Winlink net, they're everywhere. Just there's all sorts of them, but this is the biggest. It's on Wednesdays. Imagine that. Go from there. This is a training that's coming up in March. This is a very comprehensive. This isn't just a check-in. This is a training session. Look up LAX Northeast Aries, and again, it's in that link. But it's a multi-day event. Lots of things that you can take part in. There's a couple of these that happen every year, so keep an eye out. You'll see announcements for things like that. I'm going to skip this for just a second. This is the website for Vara modem. I'm going to do a little pitch right here right now. So Vara, you do not have to pay for it. It's free. You can use it. We're going to touch back on the performance of that. What they do is if you don't have the full version, you get throttled back a little bit. I'll give you some details on that in a minute. It's $75. I just checked. It's $75 for this. If you're not using this all the time, don't pay the $75. Just use it as the free version. You're going to get that one pop-up, and you can go from there. If you do use it a fair amount, I enjoy it. I kind of like the fact that I have it. A year ago, we did a group purchase, and I don't know for a fact that that's still available. He's offered this for many years, the group purchase, and I think it was $15 off. If people are interested in trying to do a group purchase again, I'm happy to help try to facilitate it. I don't have the bandwidth to run the whole thing, so if 10 people, and you have to have 10 people, that's the key. And basically, everybody pulls their money together. One person uses their credit card, pays it. They send everybody's license key. You just divvy them out and go from there. So it's a minimum of 10, but you can have as many as you want. So think about it. That's something that you can, I'm happy to help out if people are interested in that. This is just the website for that sound modem, UZ7HO. Again, that hasn't been updated in quite a while, but I'm just going to touch on this real quick. Winlink is great. It's a great tool. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I'm going to say it's wonderful. They have terrible documentation. If you go to the Winlink site, this is the front page right here. If you go to Book of Knowledge, Book of Knowledge was last updated March of 2023. Anybody here who does anything with software, how often do things get updated? Yeah. There's so much information about Winlink, about Vara, about everything. It's great and it's terrible because A, things get dated almost immediately, and B, you got to sift through all that stuff. And I understand it's a volunteer group. I'm not saying they should all be fired. It's something that you need to understand. Having a good working group. Take note of everybody. Open up the participants list today and see who's here. And these are the people that you should send an email to if you need help. Hopefully one of them have tried it before, or send me an email, and maybe I can point you in the right direction. But you really need some help, because if you go straight off there's good information in the FAQ, which is the book of knowledge, but a lot of dated information in there as well. So just so you know that it's out there. Wave Talkers is one of the ones that they point you to. They've got a ton of information. Good information. Again, you're dealing with software. So something that was recorded 3 years ago, you're probably going to get 90% of the stuff that's useful. So, but they've got a lot of good information out there. And then the last one, what Dan reminded me of, if you go to I'm going on vacation to Spearfish, South Dakota. Is there a 2 meter Vara FM gateway there? Let's go to user tools. And you can play around with all these. I'm not going to go through them all. But this is RMS map. This is the first one. I am going to pick Vara FM. It's not real fast. I apologize. It's really not fast. Okay, those are all the Vara FM nodes. Let's zoom. Hey, there's Wyoming. In the state of Wyoming, it appears that we have 3 Vara FM nodes. KE5VAI. Take a bow, Mike. Thank you. We have in Casper K7MGL, and in Wright we have KK7SAB. So there are actually 3 in Wyoming. I'm going to Spearfish, South Dakota on Sunday. I am not going to be doing any Vara FM from Spearfish, South Dakota, unless I got an antenna that's either going to get me to Wright, Wyoming, or somewhere in the middle of South Dakota. But this is a really nice map that will give you an idea. If you're going somewhere, go to East Tennessee near my parents. There's one by Johnson City. I know I can hit that one. I've done that one in the past. So it's an easy way to. It's kind of a fun tool to look around and see what's out there and who's what. So you can go across the top, Vara, which is Vara HF, AirDop, Pactor, Packet. So,
how much is all this being used?
Funny you should ask. I wasn't going to show you all the different things, but there is one. If you go through and look at all these different tabs, there's different information in all of them. Traffic. In the month of February, there were 2,400 Pactor 4. There were total connections, 21,900. Total messages received, 3,200.
Wow.
So total message activity, 93,000. So you can see some of the information of what's going on out there. One other... CMS status, propagation map. I think this is the one. You can see your last contact. So W7WRO checked into his favorite one down in Durango recently. WY7EOC, I did that earlier today. I checked into South Dakota. WY7HR checked in down to Colorado. So you can see all the different, it's public. You can, if you check into the system, people can see it. So it's just a fun little tool to pop around once in a while. So this website has a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that's a little bit dated. So, but I just wanted you to at least see that.
Where was that page that showed all of the nets, Wednesday
So
nets?
if you, oh, I'm sorry, which net?
It showed the Wednesday nets and a bunch of others.
So I posted the links to all those in the chat, but you can just look up Winlink Wednesday.
What chat? I'm missing a chat. Huh?
So if you just go to a search engine and Winlink Wednesday, you will find. And now I can't type, so I'm just going to do that. And
Now I want to
Winlink
find the
Wednesday is
chat.
huge. That they'll pop right up. So Winlink Wednesday, they will not. You're welcome to check in from Telnet with them, but they won't count you. They want you to use RF. So
yeah.
I know, like yourself, you got some radio problems, so right now you're not going to be able to do it. But they really want you to do RF. The Wyoming one, check in. We just want you to be active on the system. So, I have talked a lot. I apologize. I hope that's useful, but I'm looking here.
Where's this chat that you're talking about?
If you
So
look
in
at the,
Zoom, I'm letting my expert go ahead, Mike.
yeah, whatever. At the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll find audio and video and participants, and then there should be a thing that says chat. If you
Oh
click
yeah,
on
I can
that,
chat in Zoom. I thought there was one hosted somewhere else.
no, it's part of Zoom. So if you click
Okay,
on that,
yeah,
it'll bring up another window with
yeah,
all of the messages in it.
yeah. I used that.
Well, hey, thanks for this, RJ. I really, I actually got some good stuff out of the last one and this one, so I appreciate
Great.
you putting this on.
And I know, Troy, you use this quite regularly. I have one more slide to show, and then we'll kind of open it up to questions. So one of the first questions that I always get is, should I buy Vara? Is it worth my money, my time? Is it going to be worthwhile? And the answer is that it is. It changes regularly. It's so RF dependent. So I did these tests the other day. Thank you, Mike. I used the other Mike, not Mike Sullivan this time. KE5VAI. I gave his RMS a workout this week. So what I did is I took an ICS 215 or 213. For those of you that are familiar with the forms, remember the forms, if you type in a form in Winlink, when you go to send it, all it does is send the data. And then Winlink Express on the other side already has that form, and it just populates with that data, so it's lighter weight. So if you look, when I did the exact same ICS 213, if I did it as a form in the program, it was 2100 bytes, so 2 kilobytes. If I did it as a PDF and just sent it as an attachment, it was 23 kilobytes. So for those of you that are in the computer world, what is 23 kilobytes? It is nothing. In the world of Winlink, it's big. So, notice how much lighter that is. So what I did is going into a Vara FM. I did it without a license, and then I did it with a license. It was 41 seconds to do it without a license. You can see the bytes per minute. And it took 20 seconds with a license. So for $75, I saved 20 seconds. Again, that's one example. And it's going to be it's going to be a lot more consistent on the FM side. Then I went to HF, and this station is in Sandy, Utah, and I gave this station a real workout. You'll see here in a minute. But as a form, I did it without a license, 215, with a license, a minute 17. So it sped it up a fair amount. Now I did it as an attachment, a PDF, into Mike's RMS 326 without a license, 309 with a license. Here's the dinger. Take a look at that one. My 7610 was tired. 20 minutes, 21 minutes to send that PDF. And conditions were pretty good at that time. That was without a license. With a license, it cut it in half. Are you sending large files regularly? The $75 is worth it. If you're not, it's not a big deal. You know, you got to make that a choice for yourself. And again, some people do these tests and treat it as gospel. This changes. If the conditions change the slightest amount, these are going to be different. Trust me. This is just one snapshot. And the other thing that I wanted you to think about, if again, FM, if you go back to here, what are we doing? We're sending stuff in and out. This is one other small point I wanted to make is that in the van, public safety and EMA, we have offline printer. We have printer, scanner, copiers. You know, it's all one unit, and they're not hooked up to the system. They're county owned. They're not hooked up to the system. They're hooked up to our computer that we use for the radio, which again is not a system computer as far as the county is concerned. So, Doug, if somebody at the EOC walks into Doug and hands him an ICS 213 and it's all filled out, it's legible, but it's busy. There's a lot of stuff on there. If Doug goes and types that in as a form, and Doug is at the EOC and he needs to send it to Department of Health, if he's at the EOC and he's going to send via Vara FM a 213, and he's going to type this thing in, and it's got a lot of words on it. If he types it into a form, it's going to take 19 seconds to send. If he scans it and sends it as a PDF, it's going to take 3 minutes to send. Is it worthwhile sending it as a form, or is it better off just to send it as a scan? I'm not saying there's a right answer, but something to think about. You know, if you're doing FM, you've got a known path that works well. It might be a good thing to send it as a PDF. If you're sending it over HF, every byte that you can save is a good thing. Just food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to retype it, you've got potential for errors, and depending on how well you type, you could easily spend more time doing that and verifying that it was correct than you just letting it send.
I got parking. I'm not typing. Help it.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's where it's great having multiple operators. You know, if you truly are in the the emergency environment, find somebody who is good at typing. They might not know anything about radios. You hand them this thing and they're like, "What's that?" But they can type 100 miles an hour. We got a job for you. You know, I mean, use your assets. And this is all just another tool. You know, just use it as a tool. Some things work better than others. So, other questions? I'm going to open up for questions. I'll leave the recording going for a minute. If we want to sit around and chat, I am in no rush to head anywhere. Those of you in Laramie County, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
On that scenario you just ran through where you typed in the 213.
Yeah.
After you've typed it in Winlink Express, can you dump that to hard paper to send back to, this is what I sent? For proof or verification? Is there a method to do that?
Yeah. So in Winlink Express, it's very similar to any Office product, really. I will make a suggestion, and we learned this through I'm going to share screen again. We learned this through our exercise that Winlink Express is not a great place to save 213s. You can get stuff lost really quickly. So I apologize. We're going to be a little bit delayed because I am going to use two computers I'm going to attempt to use two computers. Well, no, I'm going to... So, Greg, if you get a... I just got to do it as an example. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. I'll be just a moment.
Well, he's doing that. the rest of you who have done this, and for those of us who have old radios and older radios than that, um, what sound sound card sound interface do you like? I know there's the Signal Link and there's the Rig Blasters, and I don't know, probably others. Anybody have a favorite, or better yet, one to avoid?
Well, I've been trying to get a DigiRig to work for FM, and I do have a Signal Link that I haven't actually done any HF, but I've got it set up to go to my Yaesu 450, FT 450, and I'm thinking I can't get my DigiRig to work. It will work one time, and then the next day if I go back on, it's just not receiving. And I've checked my antennas, I've tried different radios, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I I use a DigiRig on a FT891. Took me a little bit to get it going, but once I did, it works flawlessly. But I don't mess with anything. It works. It's like leave it alone. But now that I got it working, it does seem to do very well for me.
Yeah, but I've got it. I do have an 891, which is going to be my portable radio. I'm just trying to set this up for the VHF radio, which is a 725, and I'm not having much luck with that. So I was thinking I'm going to try to see what I can do with going to the HF and doing the Vara, and also trying the Vara FM as well, just to see what I've got. You just got to spend a little more time. Okay, well, you can have it,
Sorry.
RJ.
Sorry. So Greg, I just received this message and I sent an attachment. So it's got a 213 attached, and as soon as you click on it, it pops up in the whatever your web browser is. So now it's in, and you notice my high, I just literally typed anything in there. So what we've been finding that we're doing is if you, it's so easy. So this shows that there's a file attachment here, and because it's blue, that means it's already been looked at. But to try to find, you're 2 hours into an exercise, somebody comes in and says, hey, I need this, this email or this 213 from this time. This is just a poor place to store is what we found. So what you do is when we open it up, if we're going to print it, literally print it to our printer that I told you about, you just, right click on it, print, or, it's just your normal web browser. So what you can do is you can print it to, I don't have a printer on this particular computer, but you do that, and then the other thing you do is print to PDF, and you immediately save a PDF, and you create a folder. So Winlink Basics, I created a folder, and it's 2026 dash blah blah blah. You have your standard naming convention, whatever that is, and you save off that PDF right there. So that's one thing you can do. But when you open up any any Winlink message that you got, there's kind of the standard. There's the standard, like any Windows type of thing. You can print. Again, you could print a PDF with this. If you are in Winlink, you can right-click on it. You can print the message. You can save the message as. I haven't done that before myself, actually saving messages, but you can do pretty much just interrogate it, go after it like you would any Windows program, right click on it. There's usually multiple options of things that you can do with them. But yeah, that's one thing that we're starting to do is we actually save each message, and we don't have a naming convention yet, but that's what we're going to. And
But
then
you're
for
looking
your,
at your inbox, right?
yeah, right now that's the inbox.
So that wasn't my question. You manually typed at 213 to send to the destination. You're not at the destination to print it. What's the verification from the sender that says, see, this is what I did?
Send
To see
item.
that they received it.
No. Let's say that Joe sent something to Mary, and Mary says, we want 20 blankets. And Joe says, no, I told you we needed 30. So they come to you and say, what did you send to Mary?
Look in sent items.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right, there you go.
Yep.
So that would
and
be
you'll
in
notice, yep, and you can do
there.
the
Okay,
same thing.
That answers the question.
Yep, absolutely. Sorry, I missed that, but
You got some backup for what? Hey, you made a mistake. No, I didn't.
and that's the nice thing is you have documentation. Yeah, so you're going to have that piece of paper that they handed you, and then you're going to have this, and really that's not a bad idea. Is we could actually, so if I click on that, it'll pop up. This is
There
what
you go.
I had sent,
Okay.
and I could same thing. I could print a PDF, saying I sent this at this time. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. It again, it's very much a standard Windows kind of tool. So anything you're thinking, anything you do in your Gmail, it's going to be different, and it's probably not going to be as advanced, but it's going to have a lot of the same features in there. So. All right.
I have a question. I have a quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
Has anybody set up Vara HF for an FT DX10 radio? That's what I've got, and somebody's done it. If I could get together with them afterwards, not tonight, but just on another time, might help me to get mine going. Okay, doesn't sound like there are any. Okay, that's no problem. I'll be able to figure it out.
Well, yeah,
I'm
anybody?
using the 101, Charles, and I'm only using it for FT8. If you can do FT8, it's just a different modem.
Oh yeah. And I've set up FT8, and I can do it. I just, if somebody'd already done it, I might do it faster, but I'll get it done. It won't be a problem for me.
Okay.
Just one quick question: does anybody I forgot who had the DigiRig. That's good to know. Is there a consensus that one is better than the other? I've got a different radio I'll have portable that I'll need some sort of sound card device like that. Not really.
The consensus I've heard is exactly what Troy said about the DigiRig. When it works, you don't think about it. It's a Timex. Getting it to that point, I've had a few people in Cheyenne that tried to do it, and they pulled their hair out, and then all of a sudden they clicked the magic button, and then it works forever.
Yeah, and then you're sitting there wondering, what did I do?
Yeah,
I
don't touch anything. Yeah. The signal
Okay, good. About how much does that cost approximately, do you think?
Yeah, I think they're around $89, $90, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right, sounds good. That'll work.
The Signal Link is kind of the Swiss Army knife. It'll work with anything. And they're out there. They've been around for 100 years, so you can get them used, you can buy them new. There's different cables. You can make them work on about anything. I've had good luck with them. They're can be a little tedious setting up, but once you get it figured out, there's a little less black box, in my opinion, than what I've heard from the DigiRig. There's a little bit more of, that switch was here or that jumper was here. But it's not an absolute by any means. I've had good luck with Signal Links.
What I found with the Signal Links is that you got a knob to turn. You can actually adjust the transmit and receive side a little bit. And that to me is huge. The jumpers are pretty easy. The documentation is great. And you can pick the Signal Links up for half price at a lot of your ham fests. And that's what I've been doing, picking them up there. And I've seemed to just have better luck with the signal link than I have had with people using the DigiRig. I don't own a DigiRig though, but like I said, I just see better luck with the signal link. I just hate that it's so big and bulky, but the radio's big too, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, the
Okay.
DigiRig, you got to watch. I mean, like I had to buy the specific DigiRig for the 891. I think they have more of a generic one, so you got to pay attention to that. But what really helped me on the setup was this DigiRig website. They have some very good setup videos in that on YouTube. So that did help a lot. I've never used a signal link, but DigiRig's the only thing I've ever played with in this realm. So it's all I know, and I just know the one for the 891. And like I said, it's working. I don't mess with it.
Okay.
And I think one of
Good.
the
Well, it sounds
places
like
where-
those two are the main candidates.
What,
Yeah,
one thing
I'll take a look at
signal
both
link,
of
when
them.
you're in Vara and you're tuning and you're trying to get the needle to come in, about halfway to 3/4, that's where the signal link is the magic, because you just grab the button, you turn it till the V meter looks right, and you're done. So that I found to be pretty nice about the signal link.
Okay, good. Well, those
Not that
sound
other's
like
bad,
the
just
two
that's-
main ones. I'll look at both of them. Thank you.
I do like the Rig Blaster plug and play. It's a much smaller and generic, audio or sound card.
Is it about the same price?
I believe so. I bought mine so long ago.
Okay, and I haven't heard of that one. It's called Rick Lester.
Rig Blaster.
Oh, Rig Blaster. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
from West Mountain.
Oh, yeah. I used to have one of those for an FT 920, but it's got different. In fact, I might even be able to get that one working with this other radio. Okay.
And I
Good.
just looked at the website for Rig Blaster. That may be discontinued. So
Well, it shows
you
120 bucks.
I think the plug and play is still around.
got it.
Yeah, 120 bucks. That's twice of a DigiRig.
I'm
Yeah,
going to
I
show
had
one.
one of those in about 2005, I think.
I'm going to
a
show you one
version
more
of it.
little neat little trick that I forgot to show you earlier. If you're using Vara FM, this is kind of a cool little thing. So pull up Vara FM, go into settings. I made reference to this. See this auto tune? This is a way to help set up to help calibrate your. Move this out of the way so we can kind of watch this thing. So auto tune. And I am going to go to KE5VAI, and I'll turn the volume up, but you're not going to hear much. So right now I'm at 30 watts, which is about what I need, because like I said, there's a little bit of a ridge. So what you do is, don't hit close, dummy. KE5VAI, and then you click this start calibration. And what it does is it starts sending tones, and they progressively get, I believe it increments the power or the volume. I'm not sure which. It does something. So it's sending pulses, and then it receives, and it gives you your information, your drive level. All I know, again, RJ thought, look, green, 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 and I got a big thing that says approved. Good. Don't laugh that hard, Greg. So now I'm going to crank this down to 15 watts, which I know is borderline whether or not I'm going to make it or not. So if I hit it again, it's going to go through its calibration. Same thing. Good night. Sorry, I missed. So notice the signal and the noise dropped down quite a bit. So I was only sending it 15 watts instead of 30 watts. So it's if you're doing Vara FM and you're in a known location, you're going to go back and forth. If you really were poor, what it'll do is it'll pop up your actual. I did it again. I didn't mean to hit that. It'll give you suggestions. Turn up your drive or this or that. So It's just a nice little thing if you're using FM and you've got a station that you're going to use regularly. It's a good way to help you get yourself calibrated. So, sorry. That was just one other little tip I wanted to show because it took me forever to find. I think Scott found that one for us. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to hit end of record. But thank you all for joining again. If people are interested, we'll do this again next month. Maybe we'll talk some, maybe some people can talk about some other, Android or iOS things. Maybe Mike can give a little show and tell about doing an RMS if people are interested. I don't know. We'll go from there, but we'll hope to keep this community going a little bit. So.